Welcome to the introduction of deltasql. So deltasql is about synchronizing database schemas. Imagine you have a database schema called multivec, which has two tables, tbTrade and tbUser. And imagine also there are maybe 2-3 developers which change its schema because they are developing the multivec project and they keep changing the structure of the data model. To give the example, we now navigate to the test instance of deltasql, which is available at the URL www.deltasql.org/deltasql, and anyone can navigate to this URL. And this is a test instance which already has scripts in it, it has modules in it, and it has projects in it. But of course, nobody prevents you to define your own scripts and modules and projects to test deltasql. So we log in here, and you are also presented with username and password, which give you full access to the system. So the username is admin and the password is testdbsync. We log in now and we get much more possibilities. It makes also a bit more complex to have all these choices. Anyway, our database schema is named multivec. So what we defined as first step is a project named multivec. So we go here and we create a project with name multivec. We can also add a description. This is the multivec project, and we create it. And now we have an entry here saying that this deltasql server, it manages not only the file distributor, the GPU2, but also the multivec project. Now we need also to define a module, the multivec module. Now this might seem a bit strange. The full explanation why modules are needed is in the documentation, but the fact of having modules gives much more flexibility to deltasql. So we create this module. You can also add a description. This is the multivec module for the project multivec, and we create the module. So now it's time to link the multivec module with the multivec project. And how is this done? We navigate back to the main menu. We can press on the logo to navigate back. We list all projects, and here in the multivec project line there is this add module. So we add the multivec module to the project multivec. We choose add module, and now we see that the modules of multivec, there is also this multivec module. If we did some mistake, we still can delete it, or we can add also several other modules to the project multivec. Okay, we go back to the list of projects, and now the most important step is to generate a special table for this multivec database schema that will help us to remember the latest scripts which are executed on it. And to create this table, we just go here and we click on the bold table link. We now can choose a database type, because depending on the database type the creation script will be different. And we can also, in a more advanced setup, we can also choose if this schema we are synchronizing will follow head, or eventually it will be a production schema which will follow branches. For the moment we don't have branches in this test instance. So we get now the synchronization table, and we copy the synchronization script, which is this synchronization creates the synchronization table, and it also inserts a first entry into the synchronization table. We copy it and we execute on the multivac schema, so that we end up now with this new table called tb synchronize, and each database you want to keep under version control will need to have this table tb synchronize. If we look at the structure of the table, it has two very important columns. One is the project name, which will be multivac, and this other column, very important, is the version number, which will remember the latest version, the latest script number which was executed on the database. Okay, now imagine that the developers first recognize, okay, this tb trade table needs and the attribute tradable needs to be set to 1 for all trades. So what happens? One developer will navigate to deltasql and submit a new SQL script to change the data model. It will choose the multivac module and say update tb trade set tradable equal 1, and it is possible to have comments, so sets all trades to tradable. We submit the script, and in the list scripts it will appear as a green line just because this is a newer script. So, and the color will change to yellow, red, violet, and then it will become blank when it is very old. For example, this script version 113, it is more than 2 months old now. Okay, another developer comes and he adds a feature, so for example notifying users by email, and for this new feature he needs a change on the data model, so he submits a new script on the multivac module, and the script itself is alter table tb user add email varchar 64 unnullable column. Let's column email to table tb user as comment. We submit the script, and this new script gets the version number 113. Okay, now the question is, how can we get these two scripts inside the database multivac in a faster way? So imagine you have 10 developers, and each day each developer sends 2 scripts, so each day you get 20 scripts to be executed on the database. And this is where deltasql is strong, because it semi-automizes this process. So we go back to the deltasql, and to synchronize the database schema there is this link, synchronize database schema. We click on it, and as the operation is a bit complex, there is a reminder of the steps you need to do. So the first step is just to remember that you need the table tb synchronize created, and it tells you how to create it. But this step we already did before, and it is a step you need to do only once for each database schema put under version control. The second step you need to execute each time, so you need to execute this SQL script to retrieve the latest script which was executed on the schema. So I copy it and I execute it here. So I retrieved that the latest script which was executed was at version 137, and the project name is of course multivec. So the project name is multivec, the version number is 137. We synchronize, we stay on head for the moment, and then we click on the generate synchronization script, and voila, deltasql created a, basically it concatenated the first script and the second script, and it generated an additional script which will then remember that the last script we executed is a script which has version 139. So we need to copy this generated script and we paste it in our SQL client. Can be Toad, can be SQL Developer, can be Microsoft Visual Studio, Microsoft SQL Management Studio, and we execute it. And now the query is executed. For example, we can check, does the table TB user have the new column email, and yes, it has it. Now we could repeat this step. Assume 2 or 3 days pass. We don't know if someone added scripts to deltasql, so we can redo the step of synchronization. We execute again this query in our client. So we retrieved that the latest executed script was at version 139. We put this into here. We generate a synchronization script, and we retrieve that it is not necessary to execute any SQL script because there wasn't any script added. So this is the basic functionality of deltasql. deltasql is much more complex because you can define list, you can define branches, you can define tags, you have history of scripts. For example, you can view revision of a script if it was changed, like this. But what was shown now is maybe the most important functionality, which is used, say, 90% of the time. And I will do some more videos to explain this additional functionality, to explain how to set up deltasql. So hopefully see you again.